Diamond Sade, welcome to an intimate conversation with women of color. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. You know what? I'm in Detroit, the D. Where are you?
I'm in Houston.
Okay, so you're where it's hot, and I'm not. And actually, I knew you were in Houston, but anyway. But the sun is shining today, and it's been warm,
Okay.
and people are out there barbecuing, so it's all good. Yes, they are.
Man, I love us.
Yes, yes,
I
honey.
love
They are
us.
not playing. Like spring is
Mhm.
Saturday, and they are ready and good to go.
Yes.
So let me introduce you to our listeners. I'm
Yes.
excited about
Say
everything that you have going on, right? Because you are a uh, data engineer. Okay, that's huge. That's a lot. An
it.
entrepreneur,
Yes.
an educator. You are passionate
hmm
about exposing
hmm
minorities communities to STEM fields and helping with career navigation. Diamond Sade is also the host and
Yeah.
curator of Knowledge and Pettiness podcast. Right, right.
Bam.
Represent, right. Diamond Sade, tell us more about you.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. Basically engineering became my thing. Prior to I want to say around age 14, I had no idea what engineering was, didn't know anything about it. And my dad signed me up for a summer job, and that kind of like catapulted my life to be like in this engineering space. And then when I looked at the landscape of what's going on from a technological standpoint, data is the thing.
Mm.
Data has surpasses oil as far as worth. And I know for me to be competent and stay in the rooms that I either need to create a table or create a seat for me at, I need to at least know the skills that those people in those rooms are using. So that's what kind of took me from being a traditional industrial engineer into data.
That's amazing. And you are absolutely right. That data is king, right? Data is ruling everything around us,
It
you know?
is
And I was even
everything.
right. I was even reflecting on, how back in the day when they were starting in this particular space. And as far as like your information, right? How they're using your information, like the things that we're searching
hmm
for, how before they kind of told us how they would use that, from a marketing perspective, for commerce, etc. And then today to be on a social media site to also go in and do an internet search, and the next thing you know, those things are popping up, right? You do the internet search, let's
Yeah,
say in
everything that
Google,
you
but then it
love.
pops up in Facebook. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's all connected. And the weird thing about data is we created this thing right in a space of centeredness, connectivity, but there wasn't much rules about how this new connective would look. Now we're coming on the back end looking at data privacy, data governance, and all these different selling. What does that mean? No, that the internet would be what it is. If you think about like the 99 2000s, people thought all was going to explode, the world was going to end. So they weren't thinking like necessarily, hey, we need to have parameters in place for what technology is going to do. They were just looking at, all right, well, I got MySpace and AOL, we out here. Like that's it. And Netscape.
Right? Exactly. And it was interesting. You said something in the very beginning about how you felt about data. I'm like, wow, you don't hear that often, right? You don't hear anybody talking about they're excited about data and, things of that nature. But I'm glad that you were,
Yeah.
that you're still excited, and then that you're paying it forward, to others, to minorities, because this is a space that we don't dominate in, at least not yet. Right. Or we might in certain
Yeah.
pockets, and folks don't necessarily know it just yet.
hmm
Yeah.
Definitely a difficult space to navigate. It's this beauty of being like, oh, the black data person, or a lot of the time in those rooms, which is beautiful. However, it also comes with this like undertone of like, why am I the only one? Or, the feeling of am I leading the way, or am I leaving this impression on this company or wherever I'm at where they would want to allow other people after me? So it's like this like present tense and future tense like battle.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's nice that you are thinking about that, right? As opposed to just going in and getting it done and doing what you do and thinking about, and working for yourself. You're actually thinking about, okay, I want to make sure I make a positive impact for those that come behind. And so I greatly appreciate you for that. So with the knowledge and pettiness, tell me a little bit about that. And so I'll tell you this, right? So I'll tell you this. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, girl, you're going to have to call me, have me on when you want to talk about marrying millions. So I don't know if you watch that show, but I have been dying to talk to somebody about season 2. So if that ever comes up, holler at your girl.
I will. So about knowledge and pettiness, it actually originated out of that same space, right? Because we're as a Black woman in predominantly white spaces, they would hire me for this thing called diversity. But really what they wanted is assimilation. They wanted me to kind of be them. And I am not them. Okay. First I had blonde hair, I got blue hair now. So I don't look nothing like this white man avatar. I don't. So I was in this space of like just deep depression because I'm like, I want to be me, but to excel in these spaces, because prior to that, I worked in aerospace manufacturing. So it was like this very conservative white girl. Okay. So very conservative white man led, space. You get what I'm saying? And I'm me. I'm always been like all over the place, very just like expressive. And I find myself kind of like shrinking to like appease their ego, or just to feel like, oh, I gotta be this version of Diamond to excel. And I just said the hell with it. And that's kind of where knowledge and pettiness was birthed, because it's this notion that you can't be animated, you can't be expressive, you can't be all of these things and knowledgeable, especially when you look at tacking on engineer to anything I do.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a TI-89 and a pocket calculator, like, yeah, that's traditional engineering. But someone with social skills that could go out, network, have like all these things going, it was either one or the other. Or knows I'm science, engineering person, and I'm both. So that's really where knowledge and pettiness came from.
Yeah. So you wanted to make sure you wanted to show up as you everywhere you went, right? And that's powerful, because so often so many people do exactly what you say, shrink, right? Often we do that, right? That was the way, that was the thing to do to work in corporate America. And recently and lately people are like, yeah, no. No, this is me, this is what you get. So either you're good or you're not.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I think a lot of that, no, I appreciate that. I feel like a lot of that came from a mentality. I was talking to, I want to say a friend, and I'm like, I think this generation of Black people is the first thriving generation. Every generation prior has been surviving. Like my mom was born in the 60s, where we're trying to get rights, we're trying to get equality and all these things. So they're still in survival mode. So now I'm in a space because of generations before us, I can thrive and say, hey, I need a seat at this table, or if y'all ain't, I got a fold up table that I play spades on that I'm bringing to this boardroom. What's up?
Right.
Exactly. So it's like, I think that's what we're seeing, the awakening of like, no, we deserve a space too.
Absolutely. And, so listening to what you just said about the table, it makes me think about what Shirley Chisholm said. So, we're going back in a day and she said that, right? She said, bring that phone.
Yes.
So and that was something that she said, and not until recently are people actually doing it. right? Not
Yeah.
until like the last couple years are people doing, I mean, you have some, right? Because you always, there's plenty of us who are game changers and making it
Yeah.
happen, but it's one-offs, right? But you're having more people who are like, yeah,
Yeah.
excuse me, slide over. You know what I'm saying? Or,
Yeah.
don't even worry about it. I'm,
Yes.
doing that Tyler Perry, I'll build my own, so we have a lot of that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of have you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes.
So like with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom layer is just security, like stability. You can't get to the space of self-actualization or knowing your worth unless all those other layers are built. So I think because again of the framework of our ancestors and generations that came before us, we are here like, hey, I deserve my space. And if you don't want it, cool, I'm gonna build my own over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where we're at as a society, and I love it.
I do
love it.
too. I absolutely do. And and I also want to applaud you for being in a younger generation. Yeah, for being in a younger generation and recognizing that you're standing on the shoulders of other people, as opposed to, oh, I'm not my ancestors' wildest dreams, or what some people are saying, like they're not giving
Yeah.
that homage, paying homage to people who came before. Like you didn't just wake up and
Nah.
able to do what you're doing. No, people
Yeah.
died for that. People fought for that, for you to be able to do that. So I appreciate you for recognizing that.
Thank you. No, honestly, what really gave me a different fire, I asked my uncle, like my granny's brother, about like how did we get to St. Louis? Because that's where I'm from. And he told me about a story, and it changed everything for me. Essentially, my great greats or whatever were in Mississippi, and they were sharecroppers. And they got to this space of just being tired of the bullshit.
Mm.
And they literally stole the plantation owner's card, pushed that shit off the plantation, and got the fuck out. So when I thought about that, and I'm like, I'm supposed to like shrink for these, like for these? Do I know what my people did for me to even get here?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how crazy that is for slaves to sharecroppers, slaves, whatever? They were still the same thing. Just saying. To take that property and say, hey, whatever is that way is better than what I got now.
Wow. Right? That takes a lot. That takes courage. That takes grit.
Girl.
That takes, knowing yourself.
So I ended up getting this tattoo because of it. So that's my reminder that I'm their strength, like that I have that strength in me.
Wow.
So ain't nothing I can't do. What's like, what you mean? Ain't nothing I can't do.
Wow, right? Like, look, you're saying some things. I'm writing it down. How do we get here? I'm their strength. You know what? I'm loving all of that. And so what we're talking about, obviously it's important for women of color to have a voice, right? A platform to use their voices. You're talking about that. You're saying I'm not shrinking. Why would I shrink? My people, this is what my people survived. Right.
Yeah.
So tell us more about why it's important for women of color to have a platform to use their voices.
If there isn't a better time to have that than now, when you look at data being the biggest thing out here, we need ourselves embodied into data. When you look at how, if white men are programming, and this is not saying all white men are racist, please don't take them in this PC culture. However, if white men are programming majority of what we are interacting with, it does not represent how we interact. Siri don't know my true slang. Siri don't know how I move. Siri don't know none of that. So being in a space where we have the voice and we have the strength and we see ourselves as sisters and not competitors, bruh. When we see that, we can come together and say, hey, your voice matters too. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like it's important for us to have a voice because everything that we're building, everything that's coming after us needs to reflect us. It needs to have our DNA in it. Just like we have been low-key trained to act and be white when it comes down to how we're supposed to interact, how how we supposed to talk, dress, to have them in food. How long did it take for us to get emojis that reflect this? And see actual hair, see anything that reflects me. So it's like, it's important for us to like realize, one, we can do it. Black women are the smartest group of women out here, and that is no shade, no tea, and no other generation, no other culture, blah, blah, blah. We are the smartest, strongest out here. And we really that when strong, like we're the most educated, Black women own the most salons, we're the most entrepreneurial brand, our group of people, like we're everything, but we don't, because in a way we still shrink to the, is that my worth? Even when you think of like, my and all right, how much should I pay me per hour? And I really had to like have that conversation, like, am I worth what I'm asking these people? You damn right I am.
Right.
I'm worth every dollar of it. So it comes to like, for real, okay? Because like when we look at our white counterparts, male or female, they're not asking them questions, am I worth it? They're not. They're coming in this space with, you know, less credentials, less experience, asking for more than what we are. But we're kind of in this space where we got let me tread lightly to not offend.
Yeah.
But not offend them. Like, offend. Like,
know your worth. And
I deserve X, Y, and Z. Point.
Yeah. Know your worth, ask for it. And if you don't get it, keep it moving. That's
and add text. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Like, like, no, we're dope. We are dope. Like, we are dope. Like, us as a culture, Black women, Black men, we are dope. But it's something about Black women, bro. We are like, we're amazing. We're amazing.
Oh my God. You know what? And 2020 showed us that in large numbers. You know, as I said before, you know, pockets throughout history, you know, you had the pockets, you have one here, one there, and so on and so forth. You probably had even more. You just knew about those. But in 2020, in the masses.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't
masses.
It was not, we were not,
masses.
We were unstoppable, right?
Literally. Man, look, if people ever want to doubt Black women, Stacey Abrams, that's it. That's it. Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
there it is.
That's it. Like,
mic drop. Yeah. It really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, she changed this woman changed the world, literally. This one woman took her L. Like, do you realize how much strength that is to take your loss to help the next one?
Man,
she was.
It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, she was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Mm-hmm.
I was on foot in Atlanta getting votes on, bruh. Like, Stacey Abrams, like, that's it.
There it is. That's the tweet.
That's the one for me. Like,
that's all of that, right? Like, okay, we can just shut it down. There it is. Just look her up, read about her, and to learn more. And so along with that, right? You know, you talked about,
read about it.
You know, I mentioned how you're doing things to kind of bring people along, right? Bring other minorities along into the STEM space. How are you using your voice specifically for women of color?
Specifically, I've been looking at being in more white spaces and being authentically Black, and not speaking on being an ally. So like in white spaces, they're usually like, okay, well, how can I relate more? No. What I'm gonna do is come in this space and show you why we're dope. I'm gonna come in this space and explain to you with everything I had to, this like gymnastics to get to the same space that you are, and you don't even appreciate it. You don't even appreciate it. Like, you don't. So like, that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do. I want to make sure that my podcast has all women on it, women of color, women of all women of color, white women, LGBTQ, like just finding those spaces to empower them. Like that's been my biggest thing. Right now, it's not necessarily in the data space, but just trying to help women when it comes to their career. I've been doing resume critiques and resume reviews on Facebook for different women in a group that I'm in for Houston-based women in the interview. So I'm praying that everything goes well for her. So that's really what I'm really trying to do, a boots on the ground grassroots effort to really show that I'm just not saying it. I'm just not being in these spaces, but I'm also trying to help people thrive in whatever space that they find their passion in.
Yeah. So basically put it into work, right? Put it into work. You said boots on the ground, and that's a lot that comes with that. It's not just sitting somewhere and talking about it, you're being about it. You're out there with the people. So I'm sure that you come across plenty of women who have not yet recognized the power of their voices. And when I talk about voice, I'm talking about speaking, I'm talking about creatively, writing, even dancing. So for those women who
Yeah.
haven't recognized their voices just yet, what do you say to them?
I was there, and I understand, and it's not like some overnight process where I went from bashful, timid to like, look, this is what I deserve. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you like that. Like, it didn't happen like that, but it was a process. What I can recommend is really either working with a life coach or a therapist to really figure out like those limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether it was something you told yourself, someone told you, or even if it was something just I don't want to say assigned, but tied to your family. A lot of the times, like for me, I was the first college graduate, engineer, all of that on both sides of my family. So like a lot of the times when I shrank, I just didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that person where it's like, oh, now you better than us. You know what I'm saying? Like, being the first comes with all of that. It comes with, creating this path, but it also comes with this like, oh, she thinks she better than us. Woo doo doo woo. So like really working with a therapist or someone to really get you right before you can come asking or demanding anything, right? You got to be right within. So I would say starting there. And then two, I would say whatever your passion is, make that your safe space. Make that the place where you find your identity when things around you want to tell you, that's who you are. So for me, the longest before I even started the podcast or anything, the program that I was in through the St. Louis Science Center exposed me to engineering. That was my happy place. So when I came home, I would go there before I even visited my family because I know I'm gonna have to be daughter her, cousin her. I gotta be all these different things, but me. So the Science Center became my happy space. That's where I found my voice at.
That's nice.
So you gotta find that for you. That is, yeah. And then having a safe space, it's kind of difficult to even come to a space where it's like, hey, I deserve a seat.
Yeah. Yeah. And the spaces that you're in that you talked about and how we are expected to shrink, we are expected to assimilate, you have to have a place to go to. You have to have that safe space, that place of peace, that place where it's like, I need to get away, from all of that. Because it's so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much added, to us. Like we have the same experiences as other people, right? But then we have
Yeah.
so much on top of that. And then as, Black women, and then more, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Girl.
what y'all are carrying, we're carrying that as well, but then some more, add some pounds to that, add some tons to that. And that's where we are.
Right. Yeah.
That's where we are. So throughout, and you learn, and you develop a love for science, for technology at a young age. But throughout your time, did you ever have a dream that you deferred or delayed? And I talk about this. I brought this into the podcast like back in October, and it's actually paying homage to my sister. And she's a writer and poet, and she wrote a book, Dreams Deferred, as well as some other books and poetry, etc. But have you had a dream deferred? And if so, what did you do about it, or what are you doing about it?
I had a couple dreams deferred, to be honest. My first dream was being a comedian.
Because I'm looking at your face, I'm like, she ready for this.
To make people laugh. I love to make people laugh. So I'm finding myself being able to capture that dream and elements within my podcast. The second dream I had was actually doing law enforcement, and that became like deferred due to in 2008 my best friend was killed by police, unarmed Black man. So that became like hell no, swiftly. But what I started to do last year before my schedule got crazy was I signed up for this Citizens Police Academy through Houston. Okay. And the first day I literally just cried because my hate, and I'm really say hate, my hate for police was deep. Like the police brutality that we've been seeing recently, I lived there before it was like a trend, and I don't want to disrespect anyone who's lost their lives due to it, but before it became like when it was still kind of hush hush.
Yeah.
So like I hated them. You get what I'm saying? So like what I've been doing is really trying to find ways to resolve that hate within me. Ultimately, I want to find get back into the program through the Houston Citizens Police Academy and really try to build a relationship and understand more about policing. What I did get to learn was very eye-opening as far as like their perspective. So that's something I never had before. And I would actually recommend it because it's not, I think I was one of 2 Black people actually in it. And a lot of states and cities have them. So it's a really good space to understand their perspective and have that dialogue too. Okay. What I learned is the police chief for Houston is not for that shit. He will not tolerate it. Like he was the first person that I've ever heard even making an emphasis on psychological evaluation for police officers. Because like you can't out-train racism. If that's what they believe, you can't train that. So like somebody just adamantly and passionately calling it out. I even remember during the George Floyd protest when I was here, he was marching with us. So it was like, okay, that's kind of what opened that door. But if it was St. Louis police, girl, like I'm still working through it.
Yeah, yeah. So the program, by completing it, what would it allow you to do?
So some of the completion of that program allows you to one, go into the academy. So some people use it as a pipeline into the academy. There's volunteering events, so you can do more of like airport security, different things like that, just due to the output of the program. Each city has their own little idiosyncrasies about the output of it. But as far as for Houston, most of it was trying to get people into the academy and or continuing them through that cycle of like either citizen-based programs, airport security, or doing some type of assisting with actual trained police officers.
Okay. And then based on the experience of losing your friend, and I'm sorry about that, and then wanting to pursue this, what's the driver? Like, what are you wanting out of it?
I want, I don't want to have that hate in my heart. Like, I and we all have it. It's not like I'm an anomaly towards like when I see a police, like, here they go with this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like we all feel it. But I wanted to not harbor the hate in my heart anymore. Too heavy. And I wanted to like free myself from that, from that hurt. So that was the what's in it for me. It's just freedom. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, like you said, as far as not being able to out train racism and whatnot, there's another thing I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, but there's so put it this way, at a fire station, there's a pickup truck that has a Trump sticker, and it has the Blue Lives Matter sticker, and there's like several other stickers, right, that I haven't like really looked at. But I'm like, you scare me. You're in a predominantly Black neighborhood, and
Yeah.
putting this, which we see, it's modern day Confederate flag for many Black folks. It's also like the swastika for others. That's what those things mean to a lot of people. And so to see that, I'm like, dude, were you like on Capitol Hill on January 6th? Like, were you part of that? Because it's no shame in your game. You have this, you're overt with it. And I'm just like, ooh, I hate how it is in that station house. Like, for your colleagues, the people you're working with, what is that like? Yes.
Man, that the hypocrite, like it's so much hypocrisy in it, and I may be destroying that right now because I'm literally like passionate about what I'm about to say. Because it doesn't matter. It's all this blue lives. To see one fucking Blue Lives Matter protest at the Capitol Hill when they damn near killed the officer.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that at? That's all I want to know. Just one question. That's it. That's all I want to know. Well, where's this same energy?
Exactly. And several people, and actually it wasn't us of color, it was other people who have said, we know what it is. We know what it is.
Do.
We know what it is.
I just want somebody to call a spade a spade.
And they really did in this particular case. And so many people have even said, like they weren't prepared for this. Like, how did you not know that this was a possibility? But you were over prepared for the Black Lives Matter, marches and whatnot.
Bruh.
Y'all had,
the march on Washington had the National Guard, bruh. The National Guard was out there for a march on Washington, but it was not one soul. And they were saying, we're going to storm the Capitol for weeks.
We're going to do this.
Weeks.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
It's showing us, we know what it is. We knew all along, but others are starting to, right? That's what 2020 did for us. It started opening other people's eyes. Because again, we knew, we absolutely knew. And kind of like you said,
right.
We're unfortunately desensitized to a lot of stuff because it happens. And it's like, and it's going to happen again. We know that, other people are just kind of waking up to it. But all right.
Yeah.
Woo. It's heavy, right? My God.
Sorry, my bad.
No. It's absolutely so heavy. So March is National Women's History Month. And what which single woman do you think of when you think about women's history? Like, who's had the most impact on you?
Ooh, that is a good one. I would say my grandmother. Like, she had the most impact. Um, and I would say that just because I was raised by her, and throughout that time period that I was, being raised by her, living with her, I really didn't understand that she had cancer. It
Mm.
wasn't like I can't recall one day, even when she got paralyzed and like couldn't walk, I don't recall it taking her day. I recall her still being a vibrant, cussing like a sailor. Uh, she was just her, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And like, I don't recall her allowing many situations to like hinder her.
yeah.
Like, I don't recall that ever. And maybe I was with rose tinted glasses. I was a kid, but that's what I think of when I think of women. It's just her strength,
Yeah.
of just not letting anything kind of stop her.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely beautiful. And we are strong, we're strong women, but I do love how you said finding your safe space, right? And I also think about self-care because that's something, I
Ooh,
mean, we are so strong. We are having to deal with so much. We are, shrinking and all of that is happening. And then in other instances, no, we are our authentic selves. Either way, it takes strength. It takes a lot of strength to go
yes,
either route. And so we definitely, we need to know we're strong, but guess what? We're still human and we still have emotions and feelings, and we need to protect all of that. And so we do
girl,
need
yes,
a safe space. We definitely need to practice self-care. We need to take care of ourselves, right? So that we can
yeah.
continue and we can continue to thrive. So as we begin to wrap up, what would
hmm
you like to leave our listeners with?
Um, I use this. It's my favorite quote, and I'm gonna share it with y'all. It's by Albert Einstein, and I'm paraphrasing. But basically, he would say that it's not that he's smarter than others; he's just stuck with problems longer. And what that has meant to me is that it's not that we have to be the smartest in the room. We just gotta persevere the most. And the cool thing about it, like, it's kind of in our DNA to persevere. Like, it's kind of in our DNA to be resilient. So we really got to leg up on that. So just be persistent, whatever that is. Like, fail forward. Like, if you're gonna take an L, take that L, make it a lesson, and hit it again. Like, don't give up. Like, fail forward.
I love it. I love it. And I so appreciate your time. So, Diamond Sade, thank you so much for lending your voice on an
Thank
intimate
you.
conversation with women of color. You are so welcome and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, honey.
Thank you.